Time for happy hour, guys. Having a good time. Guys, it's time for happy hour, Wednesday, July 15th. As promised, some Queen in the house. It's going to be a good happy hour today. Wednesday's over. It's July 15th, but it is done. I want you guys to drop into the comments. Let me know what's going on. Where are you? What are you drinking? 3 stars if you're a first timer. As promised, guys, yesterday we talked about the Weinkönigin, the wine queen that Germany elects every year. So as promised, we're going with some Queen music to open the episode. Kayla in Fort Worth having some Spindrift. I love it. Angela having some Gurgit Hill Shard. Where are you, Angela? Guys, hump day's over. That means it's all downhill from here for the rest of the week. Sheila having some Cinto in San Antonio. Cheers. What's up, Tiffany? Good to see you again. I love some Queen too. Kristen and Steph drinking Monday Mourvèdre on Wednesday in Austin. I love it. Guys, White Wine Wednesday for me. So, you know, I'm over here drinking some Vermentino. Loving it. Woo! Sam, celebrating your birthday with some Heath Sparkling. Oh, our friends down the road on 290. And happy hour with me. Hey, happy stinking birthday. Everybody, let's shout out Sam. Happy birthday to you. Love it, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Alta from Crew Wine Bar in Frisco, drinking some 16 Riesling. All right. We're going to be drinking Riesling today. Well, I'm not drinking it. You're drinking it. I'm going to talk about it. We're going to learn about it. And good to see you. Oh. Guys, I could listen to Queen for like forever. Especially this upbeat stuff just like gets you going on a Wednesday afternoon. Woo! Renda is in the backyard pool. I think we all want to be like Renda. Renda, thanks for, rubbing that in a little bit. Okay, guys, this is about the point in the song where I think it's telling me like time to get started, but then it kind of starts to make a comeback. Okay, not really. Queen, we love you. Shout out to the German wine queen. I remember her last name was Vogt, V-O-G-T, the Weinkönigin. We are thankful for your inspiration for today's music. Guys, I'm super stoked to be hanging out with you. We're going to continue part 2 of the Wines of Germany series here. And by series, I mean 2 episodes worth. And we are going to focus on all things Riesling, German Riesling today, and really specifically the Mosel Valley, where I think some of the best, if not the best, Riesling in the world comes from. But first, it's time for White Wine Wednesday. So I'm going to pour a little bit more of this guy, set my glass down so I can show you what I'm drinking. Guys, Vermentino Mandola Vineyard, Texas Hill Country from 2018. Now, if I remember correctly, we're not going to be actually making this wine for very much longer. This might actually be the last vintage. Maybe 19 was. We're just not able to work with this vineyard anymore. So if you like Vermentino, and I personally do, you want to go get some of this 18 Vermentino because we're not going to be making much Vermentino anymore going forward unless there's like some new vineyards we start working with. All right. So let's all give it a swirl. Cheers to all of you. Happy hour. Okay. So first thing I noticed right off the top is this almost like sweet vanilla bean smell. This spent 9 months in 20% new French oak barrels. Okay, so 9 months in oak period, 20% of which were new. So when we say 20% new French oak, that means of all, let's say there were 100 barrels, which there weren't because we didn't make that much. If there were 100 barrels, 20 of those barrels would have been new oak and 80 of those barrels would have been neutral oak. So this is mostly neutral, but did see some new oak. And when you put new oak on white wine, it a lot of times it takes it on. And so for me, there's a very pronounced like vanilla bean aroma here, really nice, almost like sweet on the palate. For me, this is like nice and tart. So you still get that almost like lemon, but it's like lemon curd. There's almost this like creaminess to it. So I think like lemon pie, lemon curd on the note. And really, honestly, there's like this minerality to it. I really like Vermentino a lot of times has good minerality for me. Let's talk about food. Gosh, it tastes good. I'm going to go, which if you guys know me, which you do because you've been watching a lot, I don't eat a ton of fish, but pan-fried trout here, or pork tenderloin with a mustard cream sauce. A lot of times when white wines get oaked and they have a little bit of malolactic conversion, they start to take almost like a creamy component. I really like to match that in the sauce of the dish that I'm eating. I really think this would go nicely. Get like a mustard cream sauce. Still some tanginess because it's got that like tangy tart acidity here. But mustard cream sauce, pork tenderloin, make it happen. I'm hungry. Don't know about you guys. Full disclosure, I did scarf down another happy hour burger right before the show. I have been just on the better half happy hour burger kick. Those burgers are so good, and they're $5 during happy hour, and it takes me like less than 10 minutes to get down there, and then like less than 10 minutes to get back. It's like my warm up for happy hour. Guys, I'm gonna check in with a few more folks. Guys, I'm so excited. I see Eric and Asha. I see Lindsay. I see Brian. Y'all, let's talk Riesling. I had to put it off. And if you don't know this about me, and you don't know this about actually most Soms, we love Riesling. Like we just do. And we know that the majority of the world has spent a lot of time turning their nose up to Riesling. And that's unfortunate. Guys, back in the day, I mean, like early 1900s, Riesling wines from Germany were getting higher bottle prices than the first gross of Bordeaux. Okay, like just think about that for a sec. The Rieslings of Germany, the best ones, were getting higher prices for their bottles than the first growths of Bordeaux, some of the best wines in the world. Okay, that's huge. Now, that's no longer the case for whatever reason. I think because of demand, and a lot of people started associating Riesling with just this like sugar water stuff, which it's not. And demand dropped, price dropped. It's unfortunate for some, and then fortunate for others who love that stuff and know to go get it, because you are getting so much high quality winemaking for not as near as much money. So today we're going to talk German Riesling. I want you to think of all the questions you might have. Of course, I'm going to put it into 3 categories, but it's going to be full, guys. Here's the other thing. Riesling was the grape, or is the grape, that was made for wine nerds. So this is going to be an ultra nerdy wine nerd segment. So I hope you're buckled up. It's Wednesday. You need something in your glass. Put your seatbelt on because we're about to get real nerdy. So time to start out with thing number 1. This is going to ease you in because thing number 1 isn't super nerdy, but I'm obsessed with German Riesling. It's actually the reason that there's no German Riesling in my house right now. I have like somewhere between 200 and 300 bottles of wine in this place, and 0. Yesterday I drank my last one. It's because I drink it constantly. Like I can't keep it in the house. So thing 1 you need to know about German Riesling. Ready for this? This is an easy one. I'm going to show you a picture though, because you really got to grasp this. Riesling is grown on very steep slopes in the Mosel River Valley, mostly on slate soil where everything is hand harvested. So let's take a look at this. Hopefully you can see how crazy steep these vineyards are. It's kind of hard to tell from a picture. If anybody's ever visited there, the only way you can tell how steep these are is by standing in them. I mean, we're talking about a crazy incline. All right. So as you can tell, like you try and put a tractor on the side of that mountain, on the side of that hill, that tractor is gonzo. Okay, you're gonna wipe out your vines and your vineyard because it's gonna go tumbling down the hill. They have to hand harvest everything here, so it's crazy, crazy, crazy in the Mosel Valley. Now, do they have flatter areas where they grow Riesling? Yes, but that's usually used for the bulk wines. So the best vines are planted by the Romans back in the day. So let's rewind. The Romans originally settled this area. It's close to the German-French border, so we're in Western Germany. And when the Romans came through and they started planting vineyards, before they planted vineyards, they were super smart and they watched where the snow on the mountains and the hills around them melted first. And where the snow melted first was where they decided to plant the best vineyards. Okay, so that wasn't at the bottom where it's flat. Okay, so unfortunately, the cold air will sit there. It doesn't have the best exposure to the sun when it's flat like that. Then as the flat starts an incline and starts to turn steep, they would see that mid-slope area that was a really steep part of the hill. The snow would melt there first. Okay, so the incline actually makes it a better aspect to get direct sun. Okay, I know that sounds crazy, but not the flat, but the south facing, and I should have mentioned this first. South facing slopes with steep inclines get the most amount and the most direct sunlight. And that made the snow melt first. Therefore, those sections of the hills are going to be what ripen the grapes the most. So in a cooler climate at higher latitude on the globe, like the Mosel is, you have to have enough sunlight and enough heat. Now, the other key piece here, and I'm going to pull this picture of the slopes down. Another key piece is the slate soil. So I want to point this out. If you've never seen slate soil before, hopefully you know what slate is. It's very thin. It has one breakage plane. All my geology people out there, I think I remember that right from college geology. One breaking plane, so it breaks off in sheets. And it's really great for holding heat. So when you have that perfect aspect that gets more intense sunlight, these slate soils soak up that sunlight and that heat. And then when the sun goes down, it's able to heat the soil and the vines, even though the sun has gone down. So it saves that heat. So Riesling in a cooler climate where it does well needs to get ripe enough, and these slate soils are key to the Mosel Valley. Now, they usually talk about blue versus red. Most people will tell you that more blue slate tends to have more like light lifted mineral driven Rieslings. Now, let's be honest, they're all mineral driven, but light lifted. Whereas if you go with more red slate, it's a lot of times they talk about it as spicy, almost spicy, and with a little more heft and structure. So blue slate versus red slate. There is also gray slate, and it's kind of somewhere in between. And some of the producers will even label their Rieslings as like the blue slate Riesling and the red slate Riesling. Once you get super, super nerdy, then you're going to start learning the individual vineyards. So there are very famous vineyards in the Mosel Valley, and these vineyards are known for either being a blue slate or a red slate vineyard. So I think about one called Erziger Wirtsgarten, and it's a very famous red slate vineyard, and it makes these really delicious spicy wines. So anywho, guys, I could geek out about this. This was actually the let's say the on-ramp. So that's enough about thing one, how it's grown, what it's grown on. So now let's pivot. This is where it's going to get to, maybe a little technical, and we're going to learn some German vocabulary. You didn't know you were getting a German lesson today, but everybody thinks Riesling is this crazy over-the-top sweet wine when the overwhelming majority of Riesling produced in Germany is dry. Okay, is dry. So let's take a look at this together. This is thing two. The overwhelming majority of Riesling produced in Germany is dry. Now, do they make great dessert wine? Yes, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. You need to know the terms that will lead you to the dry ones. Okay, so it is important that you actually start to pick up some German vocabulary. As this guy has German as his second language, I am very excited to share with you some terms. So are you guys ready? Are you ready to learn some German vocabulary. So you can go find amazing, especially for the price, white wines, some Rieslings that are going to be dry and great for food. Okay, so there, I'm going to go over 4 terms that we can associate with dry. Okay, the first one is cabinet. And I'm going to actually pull up because I've got this handy guide, and I'll share the link to this document. So I want you to just focus first. I'm going to zoom in here on these first 2 words, okay? Cabinet and Spätlese. Let's everybody take a look at cabinet. It looks like cabinet, right? It looks like cabinet, and Spätlese. So let's talk about cabinet first, or cabinet. Okay, cabinet is the least ripe of all of the Riesling styles. Now, cabinets are almost always very dry wines. Now, just because we say dry doesn't mean that there isn't residual sugar. It just means that the amount of sugar there is so low that the high acid in the Riesling far overwhelms the sweetness, so you wouldn't even be able to perceive it. Okay, it's kind of like if you put a spoonful of sugar in a whole pitcher of fresh lemon juice, right? You're not going to really be able to taste that sugar because there's so much acid. Okay, so cabinet, Spätlese. Now, Spätlese starts to have a little bit more sugar and more ripe fruit. Okay, so Spät means late. Spätlese means late harvest. Okay, so late harvest, and this isn't like necessarily late harvest like you hear everywhere else in the world where they purposefully leave it on the vine to make dessert wine. Okay, just because it's called late harvest in German, in this case, doesn't mean it's a dessert wine. Okay, Spätlese would still be considered dry because the acidity is so high. Okay, now, are there rare exceptions where Spätlese can be a little bit sweet in a very ripe year? Yes. So cabinet's the number one that you want to be looking for if you like really, really dry Spätlese. Now, I need to teach you sometimes, even though you have Spätlese written on the label, there's another term, and I'm going to come over here and zoom in. There's another term that can go with it. So you can put the word trocken. You can put the word trocken, which you see here on your screen, after any of these terms. So if it says Spätlese trocken, that means it's dry, regardless of the ripeness level. So trocken is a key word. If you see trocken written on that label, you know that that is a dry Riesling. All right, so we learned cabinet, Spätlese, and trocken. Okay, those are 3 big ones you need to know for dry Riesling. Cool, and the majority of Riesling made in Germany is dry. Cool, cool. Okay, so again, cabinet, Spätlese, and trocken are the words for dry. Now, there are words, and Germany does make some of the most age-worthy and delicious sweet wines from Riesling. So let me show you. I'm going to pull this off for just a sec. There's going to be some new words that you need to learn. But thing number 3 is, yes, indeed, Germans make some of the most age-worthy and delicious sweet wines from Riesling. Okay, now this is where we get into what most people associate with German Riesling. But it's not the cheap stuff. It's not, you know, $8 bottle grocery store Riesling. This is some of the most delicious and incredible, and a little bit pricey sometimes, dessert wines in the world. And they can age forever and ever and ever and ever, like 40, 50, 60 years plus. I was lucky enough when I went to the Mosel to a local restaurant there that had this like library menu of Rieslings. And I just told the guy, like, I'm in your hands, you bring me cool stuff. And I got to try some really great age Riesling. So let's talk about the terms that will lead you to these age-worthy, incredible, delicious, sweeter versions, okay? Because they do make great sweet ones. So I'm going to take you back to this document. And again, I'll share the link to this, but I want to talk about the words. So it's after Spätlese, which we just talked about, right, comes Auslese, okay? Auslese, as you can see there, means select harvest. And I want to pull up a picture here in just a sec for you. When they talk about select harvest, all these wines beginning with Auslese have some amount of botrytis. Botrytis is that noble rot that naturally occurs in these vineyards and infects the clusters of grapes. When botrytis this noble rot, this fungus, gets into the grapes, it slowly dehydrates the grapes and concentrates the flavors, aromas, and sugars and acids in the grape. So the water content gets sucked out and they start to shrivel. They also turn from like a green and golden yellow to like a purple and brown color. So while they're hand harvesting, guys, and this is why it's called select harvest, while they're hand harvesting these bunches of grapes, some of the berries will have been infected by botrytis. And you can see because they've changed colors and they've started to shrivel. They actually cut the healthy grapes out of the cluster by hand as they're picking and put the healthy grapes into one bucket and the infected grapes into another bucket. That's why it's called Auslese or select harvest. Those botrytis grapes, the infected ones, get put into that bucket by themselves and they will make an Auslese wine from that. Now, Beerenauslese is one additional level sweeter and riper that has been even more affected by the botrytis rot. So we've gone from Auslese to Beerenauslese, which means they pick individual berries that have shriveled even more, that are even more affected. And that's why it's called berry select harvest. Guys, you can imagine the amount of work that goes into this. They have like, it takes 40 people to harvest an acre of vineyard. 40 people to harvest an acre of vineyard. They get like 4 bins of grapes after 4 hours. It's so labor intensive and costs them so much in labor cost. So when you're getting these wines, these Ausleses, these Beerenauslese, and what we're about to talk about next, these Trockenbeerenauslese, you're getting these wines where the individual berries have been selected specific for this style. That's some attention to detail and that's some quality, okay? So Beerenauslese is also known as BA. We're starting to get to these big, long German words that are hard to remember. So after Auslese, it's Beerenauslese, or you can just call it BA. Well, there's one level more past, and I got to zoom out here because the word is so long, is Trockenbeerenauslese. So y'all see that big, long T? That's why they call that one TBA. So Trockenbeerenauslese, remember I talked about Auslese, they cut off the infected part of the cluster, put it in a separate barrel. Then they come back later and they look for the ones that have started to dry out a little bit more and they pick individual berries. Then there are some of those individual berries that have been so dehydrated because of the noble rot that they have turned into raisins. So they are essentially dry. That's why it's called dry berry select harvest. It is so concentrated in sugar, in flavor, in aroma, in acidity, because almost all of the water has been completely stripped out of the individual berry. And so when you press those raisins, the thick, intense juice that comes out of them makes some of the most decadent dessert wine in the world. It's also extremely expensive because, as you can imagine, it takes a lot of work just to get enough grapes to make one small batch of this wine. TBA wines are usually in smaller format because of this, all right? And you want me to say this 3 times fast? It's Trockenbeerenauslese. It's Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese. Got to get my old accent back. I'm out of practice a little bit, but Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese are the 2 intensely sweet wines that are made from individually selected berries that have been infected by botrytis noble rot. That's some nerdy stuff, guys. Y'all just learned some German vocabulary about dry and about sweet German wines. Now, I'm going to throw one last crazy German word at you as a bonus today. And I'm going to actually take this down and I'm going to put it in the comments. And it is called sect, which is the word. No, I didn't say that. I said sect. Sect. S-E-K-T, okay, guys? Get your mind out of the gutter. Sekt, German sparkling wine. Sekt is German sparkling wine. All right, guys? Let's all take a drink. There's a lot of German. So before we talk about your bonus today, Sekt is kind of this new hotness that people are talking about. Germans drink more sparkling wine per capita than anywhere in the world. You heard that right. More sparkling per capita than anywhere in the world. So it makes sense that they've started to make their own sparkling wine, and they're using Riesling grapes to do this. Cool. So if you want to check out a totally crazy, out there, probably never had it before type of sparkling wine, look for Sekt. Okay. Yes, it's called Sekt. And you can find it here in the States, and it's not that expensive, and they make it from Riesling. And wait for it, it's usually dry. It's not usually sweet, like most Riesling wines. Okay, guys, this is a lot of German vocabulary today. It's a lot of wine nerdery. I hope you enjoyed it. As I always do, I'm going to put some producers that you should know about here in the comments. So, and I'm going to look back and see if there are any questions that I didn't hit, because I was getting through some German vocab. So Sarah's asking, where would we go in Austin or maybe Fredericksburg to find these wines at a restaurant? Otto's, I believe, has a pretty great selection of Riesling. Austin Wine Merchant, a guy named John who owns Austin Wine Merchant, is probably one of the biggest Riesling fans that in all of Central Texas. He has a giant collection of his own. And because he's such a big fan, he also brings in a lot of German Rieslings to his shop at the Austin Wine Merchant. So if you want to get nerdy and try out some awesome German Rieslings, check out Austin Wine Merchant. I also know that Jeffrey's in Austin typically has a pretty significant amount of German Rieslings on their list, and good ones too. Now I'm going to say that those are probably the top ones that I know about. If you guys know of some others with good selections, why don't you drop in the comments and let Sarah know. Yes, guys, Riesling is so tasty. I miss it. Alta, no, the sparkling is, I should say, yes, usually the sparkling is dry. Okay, guys, that was awesome. Go check out these producers. It's time for these three things. And I have some very exciting, important news for you to hear about tomorrow's episode. So don't go anywhere. I need you to hear thing number 3, okay? Because it's about tomorrow. Thing number 1, private virtual tastings are live and active, okay? You can schedule to do a tasting with us on your own time, one-on-one with your favorite William Chris team, okay? There is right there a link for you to sign up for your private virtual tasting, okay? Make it happen. You want to do this. Second, if you're planning a trip out to the Hill Country, Chef Josh Tye and his team have come up with these incredible picnic packs, guys, with hot sandwiches, with some paninis. Gosh, I can't even talk. Guys, I'm so excited about these. Are amazing. They come with pesto tortellini pasta salad, honey lime fresh fruit, dark chocolate sea salt brownies. Make a road trip, pick up a picnic pack at curbside with a bottle of wine, and have yourself a nice little Hill Country road trip. I'm just saying. All right, here's what I need you to know about tomorrow, guys. We have some exciting news. So tomorrow, Savana Poe, our wholesale director, is going to take over the mic. All right, Savana is going to take over the mic. We're super excited. I'm excited to share the platform with her, and we're going to bring back our buddy Evan from the Vineyard, from the High Estate, and he's going to talk to us about the High Estate. She is going to drink our brand new 19 Malbec Rosé, and then I'll be back on Friday. So, guys, I want you to all show up and be excited. Savannah's incredible. She is so excited to host tomorrow. You guys are going to have so much fun with her. I don't know if the answer to her quiz questions are going to be D also, or if she's going to call it D's 3 things, but who knows? It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. See you here tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Savannah will be hosting with that 19 Malbec Rosé. Guys, woo! It's time to say Auf Wiedersehen from your Deutschland D sommelier friend. Guys, I've really enjoyed teaching you about German wine. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm always ready to geek out about the German language and German wine. This was a blast. Today, we're going to cheers to nurses. Guys, you know this. I don't have to tell you why. They're on the front lines right now, and a lot of times the doctors and the epidemiologists are the ones getting mentioned in the news. The nurses are doing tons and tons and tons of work to take care of folks right now in the hospitals. They're always overworked and underappreciated, so let's cheers to nurses out there today. We'll see you right here tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Tschüss.